Well, good evening, everybody, and happy Sunday to you. Hey, it's Linda Anderson here from Linda Lou Creates. Thanks so much for joining me and putting up with me because, yeah, I struggled through that bronchitis and I finally came out on top. So thank you for hanging there with me. So tonight, I am only going to show one card, this card, and it is just full of different techniques that I thought would be fun to share. So let's go ahead and get started. It features some stamp sets that are, one is from the mini catalog, this two-tone Flora bundle. Love it because it's the two-step stamping, and I love that. I'm going to use my Stamparatus, and I'm going to show you that. And then I have just the sentiment coming from this stamp set from the annual catalog. So keep in mind the annual catalog, the mini catalog, catalogs are going to be going away here soon. So make sure that you get everything you want out of them before it is over. But there's a new one coming along, so never fear on that. So, okay. One of the techniques that is blending, and you know I love to do my ink blending. So let me get going here with the pieces and parts that you're going to need. I'm going to actually move this off to the side because when I'm doing my ink blending, I get pretty messy. So, all right, Orchid Oasis. Yes, I am doing the purples. Hard to believe, I know. My top folding card, so it's 11 by 4 1/4. And then I have inside my 4 by 5 1/4 in basic white. Now these are stamped with the that two-tone Flora, but the sentiment itself, again from the annual catalog, full of love. So let me set this off to the side. Here I have my parts, the die cuts for my flower. You're wondering, why did I already die cut? And I'm going to explain that to you. I'm going to show you. Then I have my sentiment strip, just a tiny strip stamped in the black Memento ink. All right. I'm using actually the thick Whisper White for this panel, 4 by 5 1/4. I don't know. I've never, can I be honest with you? I have never tried it with the regular weight of the basic white. I've only done it with the thick, and I don't know if there's a difference. So, yeah. Then I didn't think today would be the best time to try that out and see. All right. Now, Stampin' Up! Has masking paper. So if I can get this apart, we are going to do, I just cut them into 1/2-inch strips. So it's low tack on the one side, so I'm just taking this release paper off. I'm going to put, and like I said, this is a 1/2 inch, so I'm going to make a rectangle and just mask off 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. So the thing is to make sure, especially where your brush is going to be coming through, is to make sure that you have a nice adhesion here. Now I cut another one of those. I think it's 7 inches long, so I just cut them in half then once I did the 1/2 inch strip. So that doesn't matter. I figured the width of it is what's going to be most important, and the fact that I want them to all be 1/2 inch wide. So I cannot concentrate and do this at the same time and talk. So there we go. Now, I was going to have this all prepped ahead of time, but I thought it would be nice to show you sort of the whole process on this. So again, just taking off the release paper, lining it up with the edge of the cardstock. That way, what I am masking is not going to get ink on it. It will stay white. Now, I did find that the edges did get a little bit of ink on them. And I just came along with my trimmer and just took an ever so small sliver off of the card stock there. So honestly, it was not really enough to notice, but I saw it and I was like, I don't know. I went ahead and I cut it off. So it, not even enough of a sliver, not enough to really even affect the size of my basic white piece. So I'm trying. Here we go. All right. This is the worst part here, I think. So let me get this last one in. And there we go. So it's all adhered nicely, especially on the inside portion here. So let me get, there we go. All right, now I happened to grab, because they were on my desk, the small blending brushes. Now the inks that I'm using is at the top, I have the Fresh Freesia. Then I came down with the Highland Heather, and then I did the Orchid Oasis. So kind of like in thirds is how I did this rectangle of blending. So let me just open this up. I'm going to get these other two out of the way. Stampin' Up! Does make the regular size, I guess, blending brushes. These just happened to be on my desk at the time. That's the only reason I got these. So I like to load up my brush, just wipe a little bit of it off, and then start off and in a circular motion come on to the paper. And I will do this several times until I feel that I have it covered the amount that I want it to be covered. I am heavy-handed when it comes to blending because I'm lazy and I don't want to take a lot of time to do this. So one of the things I probably could do is put some other tape or something to protect the edges of my cardstock, but that way I wouldn't have to cut that little sliver off. But guess what? I've already gotten started, so we're just going to keep on going. All right, not bad, not bad. I'm going to stay with that. Right now it's going to look a little splotchy. It's okay. We're going to then fill it in, and it will, as it dries, smooth out. All right, so now I have the Highland Heather, so let me get that brush, and I'm going to start by loading it up. Okay, wipe off, start off, and come back on in. I was going to re-ink my pads, and then I was afraid that I would get it too dark, because you can always add color, of course, but you can never take it away. So I'll just keep on going. So tell me how everybody's doing since I last was here. I was off last week with being sick. Did not do a live. The week before I did one. The week before that, again, was sick. So yeah, it's been tough trying to stay healthy, and but I did it. I feel like I've gotten better. I'm not coughing as much, which is what the problem was for me, and not being able to sleep. So this is the Fresh Freesia brush. I'm going to come back in here and just go between those that line between the Highland Heather and the Fresh Freesia, just to kind of smooth that out. And did you notice I didn't even re-ink that? I didn't add any more ink, just kind of used what was already on my, still on my pad. Okay, next up is the Orchid Oasis. Let's load that up. This one's kind of dark, so I need to just be careful with this one. This one I will really start off light-handed and then slowly get a little bit heavier with it. So I've kind of got something started here. Start off with a light hand, and then I start to apply a little bit more pressure on my brush. It's, raise your hand if you're surprised that I use purple. Yeah. I just thought this trio of colors was going to look really good. So let me just get in the corner. All right, now I'm going to come back with my Highland Heather one. That's this middle color, and I'm going to just go over that line between those two purples, the Orchid Oasis and the Highland Heather. Now you can always go back into your ink if you feel like you need to pick up a little bit more ink. I don't know what happened here, if I got a little heavy when I was talking and spit on that or just what. I know that sounds gross, but let me see if I can just kind of, even though one of the techniques, I will have that well covered and taken care of, but you can always come back through with your ink pad. Let me do a little bit more of the Highland Heather, come back into that middle section. I just feel like it needs a little bit more. So let me, especially right in here. And now I'm trying to cover both lines here with this Highland Heather. That's the idea of the blending, is going up or down into the other color and just work that ink, mixing it together so that there is not a harsh line. All right, right now it doesn't look so hot, but wait, like I said, you're gonna let it dry. When that ink dries, number one, it will kind of lighten up a little bit, but it will also kind of smooth out that color. All right, before I get moving on to anything else, I'm going to do another technique, some splattering. Now, let me bring in here's the sample. I splattered first with water. You'll see that here. Then I thought, well, while I have the water out, I'm going to put a drop or two of the white craft ink and do some white spatters. I think I had watered down my white too much. It wasn't that nice bright white that I had in my mind. So I'm going to skip the white splattering. Know that you can do it if you would like. The other thing I forgot to do was leave my masking paper on when I did my splattering. So you might not be able to see it, but there is some white splatters here along the edges. So I was just so anxious to take that off and see this nice crisp edge and everything. So I learned from my mistakes, I think. I'm going to leave that on, that masking paper. I just have a paintbrush. The bigger the brush, the bigger your splatters. Then obviously the smaller the brush, the smaller the splatters. I'm just going to go with sort of a medium-sized brush. So what I'm going to have here, I just have an acrylic block. I have a little bit of water here in my dropper, and let me just add just a couple drops here on my acrylic block. Just plain water, nothing fancy. I'm going to load up my brush, get it good and wet, and now I'm going to tap my finger with my paintbrush. So you might not see it at first, but as the water hits the ink, it kind of spreads out and gets this really cool effect. So let's get some up here. I think I'm done. I'm going to stop right there. It's fun. I feel like I could go a little overboard with it. And so I would rather stop now. Okay, time's up. I'm going to let that dry, but I'm going to take the paper off, my masking paper off, and then let it dry. And then we'll get going on the flower. So the one thing that I have found with peeling off this masking paper is don't just pull it right off. Instead, pull it slowly and at an angle. I like to kind of, and if that comes off, so what? But do it more at an angle as opposed to pulling it straight back, because you don't want to rip, you don't want to take any layers of the cardstock off whenever you pull this off. That is always the risk. And whenever you have gone and done this awesome technique or two, you really don't want that to happen. The other reason I want to take this off now is, yes, I did do the splattering on there with water. I'm just concerned having that water sitting on top of this masking paper and what it might do. See how it's kind of soaking in. So that's why I want to get it off now, and look what it's doing. I should have taken it off anyway. Okay, so let's work it. See, I got that wet paper. This is good to know. And we are going to just keep working with this. So where the water hit the masking paper, it soaked right on in. So, here's a couple things I'm going to try and do though. Let's see what we can get off here. Let me keep going here. Okay. Now, I am not concerned yet. I have one more kind of option that I want to do to see. So, since I just did water, and if you're going to do just the water, I would recommend now taking the masking paper off, then splatter with your water. If you're going to use the white ink splatters as well, you might not see it a lot, but you do see it too at the same time. So let me see. I have an adhesive eraser here that I happened to get from Amazon. Let me see if I can get this to come off. Keep your fingers crossed for me. If I can get this all off, and if we can keep going. So I think this might do it. Looky there. I know, don't talk, don't say, don't jinx myself, huh? So, let me see, what else have I been doing? Did not get much stamping done the past week and a half. So, yeah, I'm kind of finding my way back into my stamp room and loving it, except when I get on a live and things mess up for me. So, all right, tell you what we're going to do is I got that one side to come off beautifully. Now, if this happens, a couple options is to just keep on going here. Another option is to maybe trim out or use a rectangle die and cut out what you blended. That would be nice. And then just pop it on to a piece of white cardstock. That'll give you the illusion of the blending. Or I am bound and determined, aren't I, to get this to come off. I'm sorry you have to sit here and watch me do this. So, but it's coming. It's coming. Just a little bit more. And sometimes I got that stubborn streak. And it's gonna... I don't know if I can get my flower to cover this. That's my only thing. So... we just might get it. We just might get it. So... well, it's nice to see those that are here. Tell me what it's like where you live, weather-wise. Did you get a lot of snow? We had some snow flurries today, but nothing too tough. So, all right, there we go. learn from my mistake. Do not splatter with water. Take off your paper first, your masking paper. Now see how along the edge here I did get some of the ink on it? If you don't mind, I'm going to just trim that off, and just the sliver of it. So let's see what else, if I can get on the other side. And top and bottom, what do you think? Did I get it? All right, so there we go. So just that little sliver of trimming, and I have nice white edges. Okay. You're getting more than you bargained for today. Let me set this off to the side to dry. Okay, my flower, like I say, it's a two-step stamp. I want to be able to use my Stamparatus for this. So let me grab, I always like to have an ink, or rather a stamp pad. I have this already set up to go. I have it on one of my plates. Now, I know you were like, why did she already die cut it? It's darn near impossible to do it directly onto a die cut. So what I'm going to show you is a nice little trick that works especially if you are mass producing. So let me show you here what I'm going to do. Step one, put your stamps on your Stamparatus. I'm just going to go ahead and ink them up in the two different colors. I have Granny Apple Green there. I have Daffodil Delight there. So I'm just going to stamp it down onto this grid paper. You can use scrap paper, whatever you have, to just get somewhat of an image down there. Do not move your stamps. Now we're going to use this, and whenever you do your die cutting, save the negative. So this is the die cut of the flower. Save that. So now I'm going to come along, match this up. Where am I? Right here. I am going to line it up with what is already stamped on my grid paper and tack it down. I just have removable Scotch tape. That's what I use. Now I'm going to do the same with the leaves. Let me just kind of move this out of the way. Same idea. I have it stamped, and now it's just a matter of lining it up over what you have stamped and then adhering it down. So all I need to do now is, here is my plain die cut. I just slip it right on in. It fits right on in there. And let me find my flower. Here it is. Same thing. I am just going to fit that right on in. Okay, so let me come on back, bring my inks back in. Daffodil Delight, Granny Apple Green. Here we go. And uh-oh, this pulled up. Not a problem. All you have to do is just slip it right back on in and you're ready to go. All right. I'm going to leave that. It's light, I know, but I'm going to leave this, and I definitely am going to leave the leaves. So what I'm going to do though is I have to get the leaf out, replace it with the second one because I did do two of these. And let me get the second leaf done. Now, okay, so there we go. There, I have two leaves done. I like this technique almost better than stamping on my cardstock and then getting the die and trying to line it up. I find then too, sometimes you risk when you run it through your machine of it shifting a little bit. This way, I am good to go. All right. So let me now, what I like get too about the Stamparatus is the fact that it has 2 plates that I can use. These hinges, the one that I just took off, there's another set that I could put this one onto, and that way I could just stamp and stamp. And it's great, like I said, for mass producing. Not so great for when you're trying to do a video. So that's why I do replace and use the same side. My flower is still in there. I don't need to worry about my leaf. That's good right there. I just happened to grab, I have a Stampin' Spot of pumpkin pie, and that's going to be my step 2 for this flower, those details, that highlight that will happen there. So let's go ahead and get this orange down, and there we go. Isn't that beautiful? I love it just like that. This is my favorite. I really do like it. So let's go ahead and get our flower out of there. You know what? Let me just close up my ink pads. Otherwise, I know I'm going to put my elbow into them. Okay, clean off my hands. And now I have my flower ready to go as well. Okay. So let's bring that in. I'm going to, I don't want a lot of the leaves showing. So this is what I do a lot of times when I'm arranging leaves behind a flower. I have double stick tape on my desk. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some of that on the back. And now, let me see. And now I can sort of play around with it, if this is the way I want it. This one, I'm not so sure. Let me see about putting it a little bit further in. So yeah, this is where you get to play then with it. I also have the birthday wishes, the sentiment strip that I can almost slip it in anywhere that I want. All right, so I can undo the leaves on the tape and slip in my sentiment strip. Let me see if that's what I want, the way I want to do it. So here we go. Let me just kind of eyeball this. Nope, don't like that sentiment where it's at. So I am going to figure out a different place for it. This is all eventually going to be popped up, so I can put it, slip it right in there. So, all right, so let me get this put in here. Just a little bit of tape, and then we are going to get this build out. Okay, let me just adhere this down, and we'll be ready to go. My sentiment pan, or my blended panel, let's go ahead and get some dimensionals on the back of that. So that's what I love about the ends here. So I can just do some trimming. Get these going. And start adding these on. This just makes it go so much quicker. If I have these long strips, and there, now you've just used the whole sheet of the dimensionals. So that's what's nice. I really like these long strips then that I can use. So Let me get some more in there. And next, I'm going to put some in here. Okay. I know, surprised that I don't have more on here. Believe me, I want to put more dimensionals than that on here. I want to go from the lightest to the darkest. So whenever I adhere my panel, I want to pay attention to that. This is supposed to just come right off in one strip and one release of the paper. Like that. There we go. Now let me get this one. So we've done a lot of techniques here. Blending, the splattering, two-step stamping. So about 3 of them. Die cutting if we want to do that one. So lots of fun techniques on this card. And it's all in purple. Almost. I thought the yellow would be a good contrast with the purple, so that's why I went with yellow for the flower. All right, so here we go with that. I also want to put some dimensionals on the back of this. Now where I have that double stick tape, I'm going to make sure I put dimensionals to cover that. I don't want the adhesive from that to stick my flower down in a way that I don't want it to be stuck down, if you know what I mean. So, and I am not done yet this time with the dimensionals, because with this long sentiment strip, I do want to put on a couple of the mini dimensionals. So I honestly just stamped the sentiment at the end of like a piece of cardstock, and then just trimmed it to in a nice skinny strip. So that is it. I didn't even measure or anything like that. So, all right. So here we go. It's going to go down. Once I get the cat hair off, we're going to get that put down. Okay, so here we go. Time to release all the paper. I am looking forward to this week. I'm getting my nails done. I don't know what color to get. What color do you think? I don't know. I don't want green. I know it's St. Patrick's Day week, but green is just not my jam. You know black is. That is my favorite color. They always make fun of me for picking black, but that is my favorite. Here, let me just move this a smidge. I'm going to trim this sentiment. All I did was just at an angle, of course, you see on the end. Very often I banner cut, but this time I thought it would be fun to do it angled. So, okay. There we go. I keep pushing it out of the way, I know. And the last but not least of it all is some rhinestones. So let me find my pick tool and get to putting some down. I felt like the rhinestones helped to pull out the splatter, so that's why I went with rhinestones. And one more. Let me tuck that under here. And there we go. 5 rhinestones. That's a lot for me. So, for one card, it still took me a long time to do it. I apologize for having you to need to watch me clean off the edges, but look, a nice adhesive remover is perfect. There's a little bit right there that I can take care of afterwards. Amazon, look on Amazon for that, and make sure you have one at your on your desk at all times. So it has saved me many a times. So great. Well, hey, thank you so much, guys, for joining me. I really do appreciate it. My cards, there we go. One card, and it still took me this long. But anyway, doing some of my favorite things. The splattering, the blending, the two-step stamping. So, hey, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And otherwise, I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye now.